Welcome to the Unscripted podcast. My name's Corby LaCroix, and the song you're hearing right now is called Great and Mighty One, available on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your music. But for now, recording from the Unscripted studio at the Junction in Old Hilliard, here's your host and my friend, Aaron Conrad.
Great Redeemer, God of grace.
All right, everybody, welcome to Unscripted One-on-One, and special guest today is Andy Warnock. Really excited to have Andy on. We know each other somewhat casually, I guess you'd say, but Andy, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll get started.
Sure, thanks for having me, Aaron. I love what you're doing. Andy Warnock grew up in Delaware, Ohio. I ended up staying in Delaware for college, played basketball and a little bit of soccer actually for Ohio Wesleyan. And it was there that I kind of stoked my business interest, particularly in real estate, but also stoked a bit of philanthropic passion as well. And eventually landed in Hilliard, where we obviously have met. Loved Hilliard for a variety of reasons. One, it reminded me a bit of Delaware, the town that I grew up in. Two, it has a unique blend of both socioeconomic and racial diversity, which we were excited about. I'll get into my story a little bit with regards to our family. We have a blended family. It just felt like a community that would embrace that type of family dynamic. So we love being here. We've got 4 kids, 8, 6, almost 3, and 2. My wife stays home with our kids. She was in the social work field and decided to take her talents into the homestead, borrowing a phrase from my buddy LeBron.
Right. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned it. You said blended family. I say beautiful family.
I appreciate it. I think so too, but I'm biased.
No, well, I'll say it for you, man. You got a beautiful family, and so you must have seen my notes. And I know we're unscripted, but I do have notes over here just so I stay on track because I'm all over the place. But my first note was talk to me about your family, man. It's a beautiful family. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Sure. Yeah. So we had 2 boys, and I thought our family was complete. And my wife came to me at one point and said, you know, I'd really like to try for that girl. And I said, who am I to keep that from you? I'll do it.
Right. We
tried, and look, you know, we haven't shared this a lot publicly, but we had some struggles getting that girl, or really that 3rd child, a couple of miscarriages. And my wife turned to me at one point and said, look, I think adoption's in our future.
Wow.
And being a social worker, you know, that was her heart. She worked with a lot of underprivileged kids and really the most vulnerable youth in our communities. So we went to a couple of information sessions, pursued the adoption route. And as you hear so often, a birth mom picked us, and we found out we were pregnant within 48 hours of one another. So,
oh my goodness.
You know, at that point, we weren't sure exactly what was going to happen. We didn't know if the pregnancy was going to, you know, be successful. We didn't know if that birth mom would allow us to see this through to the finish line. And both saw their way to the finish line, and both were little girls. So we have a little biracial girl that we adopted from Ohio here in December of 2017, and then got our biological girl in July of 2018. So it is, as I told you before we started, if 2 2-year-olds come tearing through my office doors, Unscripted is going to be unscripted in a unique way.
Well, that's the beauty of Unscripted. They're welcome. And especially because now you get to be a girl dad, which we've touched on.
Love it.
There's a lot of guys on this podcast are either 1, missing hair, or 2, are a girl dad, or sometimes both. So, man, that's awesome.
I'm missing hair. I buzz my hair because there's no time to do my hair. And everybody says, if you can grow hair, why do you buzz it? And I said, well, find me the hours in the day and I'll keep hair on my head.
Well, I'm jealous, but at the same time, it's awesome. But the biggest thing is being a girl dad is special. And like I said on a few other podcasts, I think Kobe taught us that, you know, if we could take something away from that, and man, what a story that you all have, and that's special. That is really special. And when we had two, and I was happy because we had a boy and a girl. So I was like, man, we got salt and pepper. We're good. Got the complete set. We're good to go. And my wife too wanted that third. And I always said that I felt like God whispered in my ear, I swear audibly, perfect, when we found out we were having another girl. Our life has been pretty special with three. So it's amazing how that kind of works out,
Amen. That's right.
Yeah. Well, you guys got to follow Andy on Twitter because you'll see all the stuff his family does. You all are active, man. I mean, you guys are always out doing something and finding some place and just getting after it. It's amazing what you guys do as a family every weekend. It's incredible.
Thank you. I have two great parents that, I think the biggest blessing for me as a kid, as I look back, is just experiencing life, going on adventures. It's so easy nowadays for kids just to get sucked into a screen, and we're guilty of that, just like any other parent. But we love those life adventures, and it doesn't mean it's always easy to take four young kids to the apple orchard. There's more apples being thrown at each other and rotten apples being eaten by 2-year-olds. But it's one of those things where these kids they get so much from life experiences. So we feel very lucky that we were able to do that. I've created a career that's flexible enough to be able to just be spontaneous and do some of those things as a family. And frankly, the kids, as much as they hate to admit it, they love being with their siblings and doing that kind of stuff. So it's fun. It is a lot of fun.
Yeah, you guys got to follow. So it's a great follow, and I always smile because I remember those days. I miss the days when they were young like that. Because don't blink. I'm telling you, don't blink. Because
if you want to come change diapers, you're welcome to do that. I'm do a big celebration in our house when there's no more diapers.
I remember those days too. So both places, but so let's shift to your work, because you didn't just move to Hilliard, man. You've put your stamp on this town. And I would say that from casual conversations to the newspaper to being a part of the Hilliard Board of Directors, your name pops up a lot around this town. So talk about, like I said, you didn't just move here. What have you done in Hilliard? You've been busy. What have you been doing in Hilliard?
Yeah, so again, it goes back to my roots. My parents in Delaware, anywhere we went, they knew my folks. And they knew my folks because they were active in community. And they instilled with us early in our lives that community is important. And if you're going to live somewhere, you should add value to the place that you live. So, I moved to Hilliard in 2006, kind of got acclimated, quickly joined the YMCA Board of Directors, at which point I met a lot of people in this town. My career started in the finance industry, financing apartment communities, and slowly gravitated to buying apartment communities. And some of those are in Hilliard, some elsewhere, but it got to a point where, we were passionate about investing locally. So one of our first projects in Old Hilliard was the Legacy Smokehouse renovation. So we bought an old Victorian home that was just run down and created some vibrancy and some life to it. So, now there's 3 different businesses on that property, including the smokehouse. My wife and I started a charity, which we'll get into, called Dots Tots Foundation here in Hilliard. And then most recently, we just launched that we're going to be bringing a sports facility to Hilliard for basketball and volleyball over on Brown Park Drive near the post office. Be 2 high school basketball courts, 4 high school volleyball courts, room to rent out the facility for corporate events and parties, and we'll host AAU games and practices. It's a passion of ours, playing college basketball, and my wife grew up in Indiana, where if you don't like basketball, you have to move out of the state. So it's something that we get to bring our passion to fill a void in this community. The people who are involved in volleyball and basketball will tell you there's just not enough court space.
Right.
So something we become passionate about is looking for voids in Hilliard and filling those in some way. And whether that's, a place to go eat in Old Hilliard, whether that's a place to go shoot hoops. We've got a couple other projects that will be announced soon. So yeah, please follow, because I think we've got some pretty cool things on the horizon. But our plan is, if we're going to live here, we're going to raise our kids here. we're going to try to make this community better than when we stepped into it. And it's provided so much for our family that it feels not like a job, but like we're giving back to a community that's given us so much.
Man, Andy, that's unbelievable. Like, I think so many of us, myself included, you move into a neighborhood and, there's no more front porches. I grew up on a front porch, in Cleveland. My mom would have people over and we would, you got to know the mailman and it was a different time, because we didn't have devices and all those things, but every house had a front porch, and that was where you got to know each other. And now we drive home, we hit a button, we go in the garage, and some of us, myself included, may even hit that button before I get out of my car to close the door and then go in my house, and then we hit Netflix, and maybe on the weekend we go hit up some spot, or we don't even stay in the town that we live in. We head off to some other place, that's got the latest and the greatest. And that's, man, I'm learning a lot myself from this. So I'm thankful that you're on today, because that's an investment on your part to say, I'm not just going to live here. I'm going to rebuild. I want to be part of something. Legacy Smokehouse is incredible. I love the setting. It's perfect for downtown Hilliard and great food too, by the way. But no, great place. What'd you say?
I just left there at noon.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah, you got to do the sample platter. Amazing. So shout out to Legacy Steakhouse. Great stuff. Or Smokehouse. I'm sorry. It's perfect for downtown Hilliard. It fits in so well, and so that's just so impressive. I didn't know all that, and man, that's a credit to you that you're investing in the community. And you quickly talked about, and I was going to ask you, let's talk about the basketball facility. What went into that thought, and what that was the big splash last week or this week earlier in the newspaper. A lot of people, I saw a lot of buzz about it. So can you talk a little bit about that, and as much as you can? I'm sure
there's no secrets with that. So we started looking into it. Frankly, I was coaching my kids' basketball teams, and we're practicing at 8:00 on a school night at the elementary schools, because it's the only space you could find. You're having to share gym space and lobby space with the Boy Scouts, and it prompted me to say, where are all the basketball courts? We have indoor turf facilities, we have plenty of outdoor grass facilities. But where do these kids go? I grew up going to a community center with a basketball court. I spent hours there. It was my safe haven. It was my social time. It was my stress relief. So I wanted something like that for this community. And I remember in Columbus, there was a facility called the Hoop years ago on the east side that a lot of us that played basketball in this area grew up playing games at. And it fell into disrepair and eventually went away. And I just said, look, if I can bring that in a small scale to Hilliard, and really it's to dip my toe in the water. I think there is a need for significantly more court space. But not only that, it's fun. It's fun for us, for our family. It's an interest that our family shares. So I've gotten to the point where I'm lucky enough that I can do business around things that we're passionate about. And this is one of those things. So I talked to Dave Mergen, who started the Mid-Ohio Pumas here in Hilliard. His family is Hilliard Bradley family. And, he was explaining how court space is at a premium for them. They would love to have a home turf, so to speak. So we, over a couple of lunches and beers, we got to the point where it made sense to do something like that in Hilliard. And the city believed in it. We received unanimous support, both the Planning Commission and the Board of Zoning approvals. There was an outpouring of support last week after the article went live. So clearly, it wasn't just us that felt there was a need and a desire for that type of facility, but the community's really rallied behind us. So now it's, how can we get this to be real and bring it out of the ground? It's not going to go fast enough for me, but we'll get there.
Yeah, and I was on the Hilliard Sports Commission, and so there was a lot of conversation about not just turf space, lacrosse space, soccer space, baseball space. It was also basketball. And one thing I'll say about Hilliard schools is that they are very generous with their facilities. I think some communities maybe aren't as generous, But to your point, even when I was coaching the younger kids before they went off to middle school, that 3rd to 6th grade, sometimes we were practicing on half a court. So there's demand, no doubt. And I love that as a basketball fan, huge basketball fan, as you know. I love that the basketball is not dying. It's actually still very, very popular. And I think it's going to do very, very well. And the fact that you have an AAU team that's kind of already committed to making it home is also, is great. So you almost have a tenant before you even open your
building. It makes it a little more palatable to bite off a financial investment when you know the space is going to be spoken for. And I won't tell you that I grew up a Grant Hill fan because I know it'll make your skin crawl, but I've since graduated away from my loyalties to Duke.
All right. Well, the sound kind of broke up on me there because it sounded like you said Grant Hill. No, there's a respect. There's a respect. I'll say that. I like Grant Hill. I hate that his career ended as short as it did because he was going to be special. But I do like to follow. I actually like Jay Billis a lot, who's a Dookie. He's a former Duke guy, and so there's respect. There's respect.
Well, I'll tell you what people always ask me, why Duke? And I said, candid, and this is dead candor. I was a huge Fresh Prince of Bel-Air fan. Will Smith's flat top and Grant Hill's flat top, that was what did it for me. So
well, that whole team I think had them, and now we're talking we're talking hoops. But I think what was the other guy's name? It was
Thomas Hill. Was the other Hill.
What's that?
Thomas Hill. He was the other.
Thomas Hill. Yes. Yeah. They rocked it, and they did it. They rocked it well. So I even tried to rock a flat top in the day, but that was a while ago. So no, like I said, I got respect for Duke. I do as much as Anyway, well, that's very cool. So all right, we got about 15 minutes. I want to hear about Dots Tots because that's, man, already we could call it a podcast now, and people, I guarantee, are going to take a lot away from this. I'm going to, even if like 2 people listen to it. So tell me about Dots Tots, because I know that's near and dear to your heart.
It sure is. So when my wife decided to step away from social work and raise our children, she didn't want to step away from all of these kids who need support. So we were talking, this was probably 2013 or 2014, about how can she stay involved in that space without having to go to work and deal with the emotion and the stress. I mean, social work it takes everything out of you, and then some. So, I was at the point as a business guy, I would look at all these charities, many of whom are doing great work, but you wouldn't know how your dollars were being spent. So I said, what if we can combine, my business interest of bringing philanthropy forward, where every dollar is put to good and we're transparent and everybody knows where the money's going, around your passion, which is namely foster children and foster families. So we spent some time thinking about, who do we really want to serve? It was these foster community, the foster community. It was children with debilitating disease and illness. So pediatric cancer patients. We've done a lot of children with severe autism. We've done a lot of service dogs for those families. And then teenagers, as the cost of college is getting to be outlandish, we wanted to support teenagers in our community who are trying to go to college, particularly those that either have debilitating disease or illness or are part of the foster care community. So we launched this Dots Tots Foundation. It's named after my grandmother, Dottie, who was a lifelong educator. When I think about helping kids, she's who came to mind, which is why that name branded our foundation. And in 2013, we applied for IRS approval, which is no small process. I mean, it took us about 11 months to get a 501c3 designation to be able to accept tax-deductible donations. And we got it, and then we looked at each other and said, what are we going to do with this? We don't have an active board of directors. We don't have an office. We don't have a logo. I mean, we're flying by the seat of our pants. Well, divine intervention, I suppose. My assistant at the time calls me within weeks of IRS approval and says her 16-year-old was diagnosed with pediatric brain cancer. And I'll never forget where I was sitting, how that hit me. And I just remember hanging up the phone and telling Ashley, my wife, I said, look, we have to spring into action. We might not know what we're doing. We might not know all the legalities of running a charity, but this boy needs us. And we were able to raise about $40,000 for Skylar in less than 2 months. We paid for clinical trials. As his cancer progressed, we paid for stand-up showers for his family room. And there was a point where he looked at me and he said, "Andy, you've done so much for me." The 16-year-old, fighting for his life. He said, "I want you to take some of that money and I want you to get a logo and I want you to support other kids who are fighting the same fight that I'm fighting." And it just always sticks with me, because as a 16-year-old, I don't think I would have had that perspective. I don't think I would have been able to look outside of my own, misery, fighting, for your life like that. But it was Skylar's selflessness that really accelerated our charity's growth. We thought this was going to be a $10,000 a year charity doing some grassroots things in a small community. And when we lost Skylar, 18 months or so after his fight began, we just knew that there was a bigger mission for us with this charity. And I think this year will be over $140,000 in terms of the amount of money we're able to put to work for those missional purposes. We're out of Hilliard. I'd say 80% of our resources are spent here in Hilliard, 20%, in greater central Ohio. But it's one of those things that has really solidified for our family that Hilliard was the right place, because we launched this charity, and charities are contingent upon a community supporting it. And we have a bar crawl, we have a 5K, we have a golf outing, we have a holiday party, and the community has just come out in droves to support what we're doing. And I think they're seeing that we're doing good with their resources. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of days that I get sucked into the Dots Tots work because it's just, there's such a need, but it's so rewarding when your grandparents and parents tell you that it's better to give than to receive. Until you really throw yourself into giving, you don't know how much you can receive back. And through this charity, we've been able to do that. We've shown our kids that's a way to live life, for others, right? And to throw your arms around your neighbors when they need it the most. So I tell you, it's become a big family. All these families and these children we've been able to help are now just an extension of our immediate family. I love nothing more than go out in Old Hilliard and you see one of these kids you've been able to help. You see one of these service dogs walking alongside one of these kids that needs it, and I get goosebumps thinking about it. But that's why we're here. That's why we're here.
Wow, Andy, I'm blown away. I feel like I said that after everything that you've said today, but man, you're the best of us. I'm speechless. I'm speechless.
That's not often that you're speechless, but look, it's not just me. I'm surrounded by a lot of good people, my wife included, who has a giant heart, and the people that we do life with have giant hearts, and it's contagious. And it's hard not to want to spring into action when you're around those types of people. But I appreciate all you say, but I wouldn't be doing all this stuff if I didn't have a village behind me. They're my engine. They're helping propel all this stuff forward. I'm an idea guy. I get up at 4:30 every morning, and I sit in my office, and a lot of that time is just thinking. And then it's a matter of getting people behind you that believe in what you're doing and really pushing this stuff forward.
And all that to say, they're the best of us too, because as you said, it does take a village, whether it's your own family, your immediate family, your surrounding family, your small group at church, your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers, whatever it might be, because I'm an idea guy too. And so, to get people to rally behind it and see your vision the way that you see it, and because a lot of times it looks a lot better in your head than it when you explain it.
And that's the truth. Yeah.
For me, at least, when I try to explain what I saw, as far as like something could be, to get people to rally behind that, not just emotionally, but also financially and all those places too. But man, like I said, I'm speechless by your story, from where we've started to where we are now. Your family, and I've never met your parents. But I'm going to tell you, they did a heck of a job. And what's amazing, and I don't know if you realize this, you probably do, but what they imprinted on you, you are now imprinting on your kids. And you just said that, like, they invested in their community. You moved to a community in Hilliard. You're putting your footprint and stamp on this community in the best ways. And now you're training up your children by what you're doing, not by what you're probably, maybe you're saying it verbally, but they're watching everything you're doing. And when they move to a community one day, they will do the same. And that's awesome. I don't know.
I'll make sure my parents watch this.
Please do. Please do.
It is a testament to them. And look, it's very easy to get sucked in to think that all is lost in the world right now. There's a lot of, there's hate, there's chaos, there's political disagreement, but there's also so much good, and there's so many people doing good. And I'm a glass half full guy. They say that, your biggest strength's your biggest weakness. That's probably me, because I see the good in everything, and sometimes, it's just not good, but it is good. There is so much to celebrate out there, and there's so many good people doing good things. And I want to fall in line. I want to be part of that. I want my kids to be part of that. And if we can help show people that, all is not lost, the sky is not falling, well, we're going to do it,
Yeah. Well, you're not just doing it. You're not just preaching it. You're doing it. I should say, I said that backwards, but you get the point. You're not just talking. You're not just sitting behind a keyboard firing off tweets about how things need to be better. You're actually out there getting your hands dirty and your feet dirty, and you have your family right beside you doing the same, and that's incredible. So
Thanks,
before we get off, what are the links? Where can we find you? Where can anybody that hears this find you? How can they help? This is your stage. What can we do? Where can we find you? All those things.
Sure. So Dots Tots, I want to plug first, www.DotsTots.org, DOTSTOTS.org. It has a link to all of our events. We've got every September, we typically do a bar crawl in Old Hilliard. Can't do that this year. We're going to do a virtual bar crawl. People can go buy goodie bags. We'll give those out on October 10th. It's going to be a sampling of everything Hilliard. So all the things you see at the Center Street Market, and all the vendors throughout Old Hilliard will have a neat bag that you can buy and support the cause. So would love for people to go check that out. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy T. Warnock. That's WARNOCK. I love sharing what we're doing, both philanthropically from a business standpoint, and then just sharing our family, because, as you said, I think they're beautiful too, and I want to show them off. And I'll take every opportunity I can to show them off. So, you'll find a lot at those two places. And, we're not, I'm not an overly private person. I want people to be inside of our family and be part of our family. And I've had numerous people say, don't you think your network's big enough? You don't need to. No, I can never, I want to be doing life with as many people as I can be. So come on in, come join me.
No, that's awesome. And I'm honored to know you just a little bit that I do. I'm honored to literally learn more about you today. And now I want to know more.
We can go round two sometime.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. I'm blown away, Andy, and I'm so thankful for the time you gave me today. I know you got somebody waking up real soon that you need to tend to. Thank you for carving out just a little bit of time to tell your story. I know it's going to impact people, and that's what we're here for most. And man, you're living it to the full. Because none of us, who knows what even tomorrow brings. And man, you are pedal to the floor, getting it done, and I appreciate that about you. You do have a beautiful family. I'm honored to have met you and call you friend, and I'm looking forward to hopefully being at the ribbon cutting of the Hoop Place one day and celebrate that here in our town and everything else you're doing for this town. Thank you for Hilliard and what you're doing for us too.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate what you're doing. And there'll be a dad's league at that facility for sure. So. Oh man, I might have to get in shape. Come join us. We'll have the stretcher ready for the Achilles and knees that go along the way. I'll set picks and rebound. Set picks and rebound. That's where I'm at now at this point in life. I just shoot from everywhere, so I need a guy on my team that's willing to rebound.
Give me a jersey. I'm there.
All right.
Thanks, man. Alrighty. Bye.
Thanks, Aaron.
This has been the latest episode of the Unscripted podcast with your host, Aaron Conrad, from his studio at the Junction in Old Hilliard. Make sure to like, share, follow, and review on your favorite podcast platforms. Also, make sure to check out my song Great and Mighty One on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you find your music. We'll be back with another great guest soon. We'll see you next time.